Today, I'm sitting at the desktop answering the top 3 questions that I get in my comment section. What do you use to record the POV type videos? The camera that I use to film all of my videos is the DJI Action 4 camera. So it's basically the GoPro equivalent. I have it here in a little case. It's in a little aluminum case. The camera is actually a little bit smaller and lighter than what it is right now, but I use that and then I use a neck mount. So if you've seen any of my on the job videos, you will see that I have a camera basically mounted right here while I do whatever the job is that I'm doing. So whether that's surface cleaning, house washing, any of those things, roof cleaning. I love this camera because it does not overheat. So I work and live in Florida. I saw where the GoPro had a tendency to possibly overheat after a certain amount of time. And I saw that the number one reason that a lot of guys switch over from GoPro over to DJI Action was the fact that this camera does not overheat quite as often. So I've honestly never dealt with it overheating to the point where it's not filming. This has like a safety measure in which when it starts to overheat, it will shut off the front screen and the back screen, but it will continue to record. So I've never gotten it too hot to where it does not film at all. And I've filmed for maybe about 10 hours in one day. I've used this camera and I have not had an issue with overheating at all. As you can tell right here, there's a screen on the front, which makes it really nice when you're doing content like this. When I pop my camera off and I start talking to the camera, I can see myself in this little front screen, which is really nice. The SD card is 256 megabytes and it has 5 hours and 40 minutes worth of storage time at 4K 30 frames a second. So that is plenty of film time for me on most of my jobs, but it is very easy to change even with this camera case that I have on it, which I will also show you guys that here in a minute. Basically, this flops down with the press of a button, and then you are able to pop out the battery right here with just a little press. And then basically the battery slides out. It has a tab if it doesn't slide out, but basically there's a little battery in here. And then there's also the SD card that comes in here. So the camera is actually water resistant. I don't want to say waterproof, it's water resistant. And it fits nicely in this case. And this case is aluminum and very durable. So I haven't yet dropped the camera, but if I did, I feel pretty safe with this case. Also, I have screen protectors on the lens itself, the front facing camera and the back facing camera. And I can also show you guys the links to those. And all of this will be linked down in the description below. It's on my Amazon storefront. And also any pressure washing products that I may talk about, check out my Cigar City soft wash link down in the description below. Save yourself 10% off when you use promo code GOLD10. Each battery lasts, I want to say about an hour and 20 minutes or so of full filming. So about every hour or so I switch the battery. It comes with 2 extras, so you can easily get 3 to 4 hours worth of filming footage before actually even needing to recharge the batteries themselves. I'll plug this into, I have a power bank down here that I'll charge the batteries with sometimes if I'm filming like say 10 hours in one day or something like that. With just normal pressure washing jobs or just a full day worth of filming, you can kind of get away with just the camera itself and the backup batteries that it comes with. I'm just going to flip through some of the details that they have on the camera so you guys can kind of see what the highlights are. So it does film in 4K, which is nice. It's 10-bit color. If anybody does any color grading post edit, that is nice to know. It says it lasts about 160 minutes battery life. I'd say depending on the heat and the temperature and stuff like that, give or take 160. I'd say an hour and a half is what I would say personally. But if you count all the batteries, definitely over 160 minutes worth of filming. I put on a setting called Rock Steady that keeps the camera horizon steady, similar to this, where you can't really tell that I'm stepping. You can see that I'm moving, but you can't see the shakes in the camera, which is really nice. You can see that it's 18 meters, waterproof. They say waterproof right here, you'll see. So it's not me saying it, it's them saying it. Okay, and it films up to 120 frames a second if need be. I found that was using a lot of storage space when filming and when editing. So I went ahead and bumped it down to 4K 30 frames a second, but it also films in 60 and 120. The next question that I'm always getting asked is, did I start out my pressure washing business with a trailer or a truck? How did I get started, basically? And so I've gone ahead and pulled up some images of how I actually got started. And this is it. Honestly, I got started with a simple pressure washer that I was pulling out of the back of my vehicle like this. Here's a video of how I had my little setup. You can see my little pressure washer. I have my boots.
gas, chemicals.
I got my gas. I got everything in the back of my Explorer, even my little surface cleaner right here. And this was the very first surface cleaner that I started with. It was a Simpson. I think this was like maybe a 16-inch, but I started with basically a wand attachment to a surface cleaner. So I didn't even have a dedicated surface cleaner. This was just an attachment that went on the end of the wand, and I would plug that into my pressure washer. So you can get started with basically the minimum is what I'm trying to say. And you don't need anything too crazy to get started. You just got to get going. And as I saved money, I started to buy things. First, I got a custom built trailer because my HOA was strict and would not allow trailers or commercial vehicles in the driveway. So I had to find something that could fit in the garage. The 6x12 trailers would not fit in the garage after I measured. So I actually had to get my trailer custom built. And this is what you're looking at right now, which is a tandem axle 6x10 trailer, but it does fit in a standard size garage. I knew what machine I wanted. I knew what tank sizes and everything I wanted, but I had to figure out how to make it all fit on a 6x10 platform. In hindsight, and now that I've experienced it over the last 4 to 5 years that I've had my trailer, I am so happy that I went with a 6x10. I know the 6x12 wasn't really an option, but I've been so thankful with the trailer that I have. Looking back on it, there isn't many things that I would do differently. I really enjoy the layout that I chose, and I really enjoy all the equipment that I chose. If you guys are interested in any of that equipment that I use on a daily basis that you've seen in my videos, check out the link down below, Cigar City Soft Wash. Use promo code GOLD10 at checkout and you will save yourself 10%. And that can be on anything from the trailer itself all the way to the entire build, or just some hoses, some hose reels, equipment, whatever it is you need. And all along the process, and even after you're in business, once you start needing to buy new hoses like you've seen in some of my videos, or a new surface cleaner, a new machine, stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, definitely check out that link and use that promo code to save yourself some money. And here it is, me in the process of building my trailer. And as you can see, I used just some, I think it was like 4x4. I forget what size this wood was. I used an aluminum channel all the way down, and then I used these braces to support the hose reels. So the hose reels are actually set in just a little. If I could do it differently, I would have it custom welded to where the hose reels could almost be flush with the tire line right here, and giving me just a little bit more room on the trailer. I started to get all the equipment. I was still waiting on some parts and pieces. I didn't have my 12-volt system yet. I didn't have my blend manifold yet. But I had my pressure washer, I had my tank, I had my hose reels, and I started my build. Once you start building, you'll start to really realize what it is that goes into the systems, how they flow, how they need to be plumbed, what layout isn't going to work, what layout will. As you start to save and as you start to acquire the equipment needed to build your own trailer, you can start to think about those things. But when I first got started, this is how I started, boys. With just a pressure washer. Honestly, I was pulling it out of an Accurate TL even before I was pulling it out of this Explorer like this. So I started with the TL, then got the Explorer, then I bought the trailer, and then I built my trailer. Before I even had a trailer or a truck, I had a car and I had a pressure washer. So that is actually what I started my business with. And the last question that I get asked quite often is, at what point did I end up getting licensed and insured? I got my LLC in 2019. That's when I started my business officially. And when I first started out, I was doing jobs that looked like this was my very first job. Well, honestly, these two jobs were back to back on the same day. I was using my surface cleaner, but I hadn't learned how to post treat yet. And that's why you still see these tannin stains on the concrete. I hadn't even really learned that you're supposed to post treat the driveway if you're dealing with certain stains, such as lines in the concrete or tannin stains from acorns, where surface cleaning just will not remove it. You do need to use SH. When you're first starting out, you know some things, you don't know everything, so you can't pretend to know it all or not be open to learning new things. Somebody in my comment section, honestly, when I posted the before and after photo of this, another pressure washing guy said, hey man, if you want to get up those tannin stains right there, you need to use SH after you're done surface cleaning it. After that, I always had a pop-up sprayer and some SH. It's okay to not know. It's not okay to not want to learn. So once you start to learn and start to pick up on things and start to understand the processes better and the industry better, you start to learn what works and what doesn't work and how you want to do it. And as long as you're getting the results that you want, you can kind of tailor the processes and how things flow to your liking, as long as the results speak for themselves. And remember, guys, quality shines through. And this one was actually my very first one. I put out one yard sign that I had made. I got a call from it, And this lady honestly agreed to trade me with a Google review and $50 for a driveway cleaning. So my very first driveway wasn't even for $100. You guys are always roasting the $99 guy, but I was a $50 and a Google review guy. Anyway, I could secure a job just to kind of gain that experience. So I hadn't pressure washed under anybody before. I hadn't learned anything. I didn't use YouTube at the time like a resource like I should have. And now looking back on it, I wish I had somebody that was putting out content around pressure washing that I had gotten into at the time, like some of you guys are into. That would have definitely saved me a lot of time and effort. I had been doing pressure washing at Arby's just as a maintenance task while I went through college, and I was like, I know what pressure washing is. I can do pressure washing. So I just kind of picked it up and learned it from there instead of actually deep diving the online forums and content that people have online on the proper techniques and equipment and all that stuff. Looking back on it, I would not have bought my very first system, which was a 2.5 gallon a minute machine. I would have gone with a 4 gallon to start and not a 2.5 gallon because I had trouble powering my surface cleaners, to be honest. The customer was satisfied. They left a good Google review. I got some experience under my belt. I made $50 and that's all you could ask for. And my yard sign was used. That's kind of how I got started. And once I got a couple jobs under my belt and I got my LLC, I had a client that was Arby's at the time. Like I said, I was already working for them as an employee, doing their maintenance when it came to maintaining some of their stores. Pressure washing was one of those maintenance tasks. And after pressure washing for a while there, I was like, you know what? If I got licensed and insured, would you guys give my business a try with the pressure washing? Because they would hire somebody to come in and pressure wash behind me because the pressure washer that Arby's had at the time was just a little electric 1.5 gallon a minute pressure washer. So it was weak. And basically they would have to pay somebody else to come in behind me and pressure wash. So I was like, well, why don't I become that company that Arby's pays to pressure wash? I knew I had to get licensed and insured. That was one of the main pieces of document that they were looking for, was the certificate of insurance. After my first few yard signs in one Facebook review, I decided I was going to go ahead and get licensed and insured, because if I wanted to take on any commercial contracts or work with any management companies, I was going to need to be licensed and insured. So that's when I went ahead and did it. I bit the bullet right away, got licensed and insured. And now looking back on it, I'm glad I did it that way, because that's why I deal with so many property management companies now versus so many individual like residential homeowners. This was the Arby's location that I worked at. And as you can see, my little pressure washer right there that I was using, this is before I even built my trailer. I still used my Simpson surface cleaner, and we had Arby's as a client. And I was able to clean multiple stores of theirs. And over that first year, when I didn't have a trailer, but I was cleaning these Arby's locations, I began to save as much money as I could. Cleaning these stores with this pressure washer that I was using was a hassle. So I had to upgrade my system pretty quickly. So after about a year in business using that 2.5 gallon a minute Simpson pressure washer, I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger and build the trailer that I showed you guys, which was right here. And this was the end product of the trailer. As you can see, I didn't even have my 12-volt system yet, but I had a nice little layout. I had a dump valve for the tank. I got my garden hose. I got my high pressure hose, and I got an 8 gallon a minute pressure washer and a surface cleaner. You can get away with doing some residential property, mom and pop, like under the table friends here and there jobs. But if you want to seriously be in business, you want to have an LLC, you want to be taken seriously, and you want some big dog clients, or you want some clients that are able to provide you with a higher volume of work or larger scale jobs, you're going to have to be licensed and insured. They're going to request that certificate of insurance. So if you can, go ahead and bite the bullet within that first year or so and get yourself licensed and insured so you're taken seriously as a business. And let me know down in the comments what video you'd like to see next. I appreciate y'all joining me today, and catch me on the next one, everybody. Peace.